Pop your popcorn, crack a cold one, put your feet up, because we've got a long one coming at you about leaders. So hold on. Here we go. That's like butter. Well, howdy friends. Brian Flechsig of Mad River Outfitters in the Midwest Fly Fishing Schools, and welcome back to another one of our fly fishing tutorials. And today, we're going to talk more about leaders. I know you're probably sick of it, but we're not. As always, friends, we appreciate you being here. Thanks for all your questions. Thanks for all your support. Remember that we don't have sponsors here on our YouTube channel. We do this all out of our own kindness, but we depend on your support, so we appreciate that greatly. And keep it coming so we can keep making these videos. So anyways, yes, we're going to talk more about leaders today. And I just want to start off by saying, again, thanks for all your questions. I literally answer 10 questions a day about leaders and building leaders and you selecting the proper leader. And your questions are always welcome. Customer service is what we do for a living. Fly fishing is what we love and what we sell. But I just wanted to kind of just do a little catch up and overview here on some leader basics, and then we'll talk about a few concepts and maybe take this a step or two further. But first and foremost, I've heard over time a lot of folks that chime in via email or on the phone or what have you, that they said they were at such and such shop or they were at this big box store, and the salesperson there told them that the leader doesn't matter. I've even heard people tell me that the guy at such and such big box store said, you can throw any fly you want on 4X Tippet. I'll be honest with you, friends. 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, that kind of misinformation and that kind of, excuse my arrangement of letters, but that kind of BS is what made us start this channel in the first place. There is so much misinformation out there about leaders that it's just sickening. So it's my new life goal to make sure that all of you that want to learn can learn everything there is to know about leaders. And I'm going to take this one step further. You could say that your fly is your most important piece of gear. And then your leader is your second most important piece of gear. And first of all, this is completely backwards of what the industry wants you to believe. What does the fly fishing industry, what do most fly shops, what do most manufacturers want you to believe is the most important piece of gear? I'll give you a second to think about it. Of course, it's the rod. It's the most expensive part. And then what do they want you to believe is number two? I'll give you a second. Of course, it's the reel. Well, I got news for you, friends. They've got it going this way. They've got it going from what's in your hand is your most important. And it's actually reverse. It's what's on the end of your line that's most important, and then it's your leader, second most important. But I'd like to argue that if your leader isn't right, if your leader can't deliver the fly to the target and then allow that fly to behave properly, then what good is the best fly in the world? So your leader, one could argue, is the winner. It's the number one most important piece of gear. You know what? I don't really care what your rod is. There's some fantastic $100 fly rods out there. You don't have to spend a bunch of money. But I don't care if you have a $900, $1,200 Sage, Loomis, Scott. If your leader sucks, everything else behind it sucks. Your fly lines can suck, your rod sucks, your reel sucks, everything sucks. I'm sorry. If your leader is not right, nothing else can and will be right. So let's take a look at just some leader basics here, just to refresh our memories. A leader serves three basic purposes. Number one, the leader must first and foremost deliver the fly. It must deliver the fly to the target. That's step one. You ain't going to be fishing unless you can get the fly to the target. Number two, it must permit and even enhance, yes, enhance a lifelike presentation. Yes, your leader permits and enhances a lifelike presentation. And number three, a leader must survive the fight of the fish. Let's say that number one happens, you get the fly there. Number two happens, it permits and enhances a lifelike presentation of your fly. You hook a fish. It must be strong enough to survive the fight of the fish. Those are the three things that a leader does in that exact order, okay? But if it fails at any one of those things, again, you're out of business. I don't care how expensive your fly rod is. I don't care if you have $10,000 sunglasses on to help you see the fish better. It's not going to make a difference. So, leader basics, just to review. I know most of you have seen this. If you haven't, you can go right there to this link to episode 9 and getting started in fly fishing. And then you can also watch the ad nauseum videos that we've made over the years of leaders and proper leader construction. But again, I get these questions every day, so I thought we'd just do kind of a quick overview here, which might not be so quick, actually. So first and foremost, the word leader. The word leader equals a butt plus a tippet. Okay? A leader, when you buy a leader off the wall in a package, and it says tapered leader. Okay, this package contains a tapered butt section. Okay, basic 7th grade physics tells you that it has to be tapered, just like your fly line is tapered, your rod is tapered, your arm is tapered. It has to be tapered. And then it also includes a tippet. When you buy this leader off the wall, it says that it has a 4x tippet, which refers to the diameter of the tippet that's on here. So many people tell me that such and such shop or big box store told them that they needed to add tippet. You don't add tippet to a leader out of the package. It's already there, okay? If you pull this leader out and you add tippet, you're double tippeting. You can get arrested for that in some states. And we're lobbying for all states. Because double tippeting is bad. It's going to affect your delivery, it's going to affect the presentation, and it's certainly going to affect the ability for that leader to survive the fight of the fish. Now, you are going to need some tippet material for when you cut off a fly, you get one fly caught in a tree, and now your tippet is 6 inches instead of 1.5 to 2 feet. You're going to have to then, at that point, add some tippet, but you do not add tippet right out of the package, okay? Very common question. We hear it a lot that people are told that they need to add tippet. You do not, okay? So the two variables when it comes to leaders are going to be on the package. And first of all, the X. 0x equals 11 thousandths in diameter. Again, let's just do this, and I will say this once again. Bear with me. Best just let him finish, Clark. Get the idea? 0x is fairly fat tippet, although not the fattest of all tippets. There is thicker than 0x, and 6x or 7x or even 8x will be your thinnest. So the higher the number, the thinner the tippet. Okay? And let's remember back to episode 9. You can go watch that one again. It'll help you out a whole bunch. is to determine what size tippet you should be using. You take the size of the fly, let's say it's a size 12 fly, divide by 3 or 4, and you know that a size 12 fly is typically going to be thrown on 3X or 4X tippet. Okay? If it's a super heavy fly, if it's weighted, got a bead head on it, you're going to err on the thicker side, again, the 3X. If it's a super light dry fly, you might err on the thinner side, the 4X. If it's super, super light, you could go to 5X. There's no tippet police. You're not going to get arrested. As long as it does all 3 of those jobs, delivers the fly, and permits and enhances, and then survives the fight of the fish. So what if your fly is bigger? I get this question a lot. What if your fly is size 2? Well, the math doesn't work. Well, simply go heavier or thicker, go thicker than 11 thousandths. If it's a size 2 fly, okay, divide by 3 or 4, well, that's bigger than 0 at that point. Or let's say it's an articulated fly. Let's say it's a size 4 or 2 articulated fly. So it's got 2 hooks. You're going to have to go thicker than 0X. Let's say it's a big fat bass bug, a size 1/0 bass bug. Let's say it's a size 3/0 saltwater fly. Okay? You can kind of do the rough math in your head, but it's really not that complicated. Most larger streamers, articulated flies, Kelly Gallup style flies and such, I'm fishing those on 12 thousandths, maybe even 14 thousandths tippet. For most bass bugs that are going to be fairly heavy, fairly wind resistant, I'm going to be on 12 thousandths or 14 thousandths tippet. I get tons of people, tons of questions, almost every day, that people are fishing a big Kelly Gallup sex dungeon or a boogeyman, and they're trying to throw it on 2X tippet. It just can't be done, friends. And then they're wondering why the fly is hitting them in the back of the head. Or they're wondering why the energy goes halfway down the leader and then it collapses into a big pile. Because you don't have the thickness and the stiffness in order to carry the energy to throw such a big fly. Okay? So even on saltwater flies, big saltwater flies, I might be 15 thousandths in diameter. I might be 17 thousandths in diameter for my tippet on a real heavy saltwater fly. And that's also going to, first of all, allow you to deliver the fly to the target because it's so heavy. You need that thickness and stiffness to cast that fly. Number 2, you can permit a lifelike appearance because that's probably a streamer or a crab and you just tie a non-slip loop knot. It allows the fly to behave properly. And then number 3, it's going to help that leader to survive the fight of that big saltwater, hard fighting game fish. Okay? How about the length of a leader? I won't go into great detail here because we've already done a video. Again, it's linked right there on leader length. I don't know, it was sometime last year. And if you can't see that link, it's down in the description below me. But in a nutshell, a pretty good rule of thumb is to keep your leader about the same length as your fly rod. That's a pretty safe place to start. Most fly rods are going to be 8.5 foot to 9 foot in length, so 9 foot leaders are the norm. And about 7 foot of that is going to be taper, and about 2 foot of that, on average, is going to be tippet. Okay? Let's say you have a 7 foot fly rod. You might go down to a 7.5 foot leader. It doesn't have to be exactly the same length as your fly rod, approximately. Okay? And you're going to have about maybe 6 foot of butt section on that leader and about 1.5 foot of tippet, something like that. Okay? Again, the one thing I do want to mention, this is very, very important. If you're fishing a sinking or sink tip line, of course, we have a bunch of videos on that. But remember, you typically never want your leader to be more than 4 to 5 foot in length. Big, big problem. I see so many people that loop on a 9 foot leader onto a sinking line because in our getting started in fly fishing video, I told you to keep your leader about as long as your rod. That's kind of a beginner thing. It's for a floating line and a general guideline. If you're fishing a sinking or sink tip fly line, no more than 4 to 5 foot. Go watch our countless videos, and I give you the leader formulas there. So some of the other questions that we get on leaders is, if you are fishing a streamer, okay, and a streamer is going to be also called contact fly fishing, meaning that you throw the streamer out, the energy goes all the way down the leader to the fly, your rod comes down, and you have contact with the fly. You're making that streamer swim. Well, that's going to be one type of leader, a particular leader designed for that job. And let's say you want to switch over to nymphs. Well, nymphs is non-contact fly fishing. You don't typically swim a nymph through the water. You want that nymph bouncing along the stream bottom. Well, that entails an entirely different leader setup. And then dry fly fishing is also non-contact fly fishing, but again, really requires an entirely different leader setup than a nymph setup is. Okay? And I guess the way I can describe that, I can show you here is, a contact fly fishing leader. A contact fly fishing leader, you may have heard us say this before, that a good leader starts in the butt. And, okay, you got the tippet thing down now, so we're going to start talking about butts. And a contact fly fishing leader, the energy is going to flow smoothly from the tip of my fly line right into the butt section of the leader, and then it's going to taper down accordingly from there to the proper tippet size. Okay? In this case, we just got back from tarpon fishing, so I have a piece of shock tippet on the front, but the tippet that actually delivers the fly is right there. The shock tippet's here to protect. My nymph leader, okay, my nymph leader has a good stiff butt section because you're going to be casting heavy nymphs, split shot, and probably strike indicators. So you still need a good butt section. A good leader starts in the butt, but then I'm going to collapse the energy in the middle of the leader. I'm going to collapse it, which allows for a perfect tuck cast. And stay tuned because we'll cover that, and we'll cover the tuck cast and the importance of this leader formula in a coming video. And then so I collapse that leader, which allows it to kick over, and then this kind of flops around and allows that nymph to float naturally along the stream bottom. Whereas a dry fly leader pretty much limp and collapses the whole way. Okay, look at this transfer of energy. There is no real transfer of energy. Of course, it goes through there, but this is much more limp than the tip of my fly line. And that's on purpose. That permits and even enhances a lifelike presentation. Okay? So you can kind of think of it this way. And again, I really want you guys to stay tuned because we're going to be talking a lot more about this in the coming weeks, months, and years, we hope. That I want you to think of a leader as I want you to think of yourself as a plumber. Okay, you are now a plumber of energy. And your leader is a pipe that carries energy from the tip of your fly line to your fly. And in a nutshell, a contact fly fishing leader for streamers, bass fishing, saltwater fishing, pike, muskie fishing, you name it. A contact leader, that energy goes all the way down the leader right to the fly. You want that cast to lay out perfectly straight. The rod comes down. You have instant contact with the fly. Non-contact nymphs, you want a good butt section that has what it takes to kick over, split shot, heavy flies and strike indicators. And then you're going to collapse that leader right there halfway down. So you want half good plumbing, half bad plumbing, so that nymph bounces along the stream bottom as if it were unattached to tippet. And then for non-contact dry flies, you want that leader basically to collapse the whole way. Okay? So you want bad plumbing right there at the tip of your fly line, so that leader lays in nice soft coils on the water, allowing you to get a drag-free presentation, allowing that dry fly to float on the surface of the water as if it were unattached to your leader. Of course, there's exceptions to the rule. Sometimes you raise nymphs up. Sometimes you skate a dry fly. Sometimes you move your dry fly. Well, of course, you can still do that. It's still connected to the fly. And if you pull on it, you can still pull the fly. But it's that delivery and then enhancing the lifelike presentation of the fly that these leaders really come into play. So the answer is yes. If you're out there fishing one rod on the river and you need to switch between streamers, nymphs, and dry flies, you theoretically should be switching leaders. It's really easy to do. You're going to carry a leader wallet with you, and you're going to swap out to the proper contact, non-contact nymphs, non-contact dry fly leader, okay? One kind of final question that we get a lot, and I know that most of you probably understand this at this point, but people talk about replacing or adding different types of tippet to a leader, okay? And let's say that you have a butt section here, and let's say that this leader is a 4X leader. So it's got 4X tippet on the front. And let's say that you don't have specific types of leaders and you're only fishing a basic monofilament nylon leader. That's okay. You can still do that. And especially for beginners, for that matter, I recommend it. What we're talking about here with what I just showed you is fairly intermediate to advanced fly fishing. But here's a question that we get a lot. If somebody wants to now tie on a streamer, I get this question 3 times a week. Can I just add 2X tippet to the front of this? Can you just tie on a piece of 2X? And friends, you just cannot. I'm sorry, you just can't. That's, again, basic elementary 7th grade, maybe 4th grade these days, physics. Okay, this is a pipe, remember, that's carrying energy to your fly. You've bled off so much energy, and now all of a sudden you're going to attach a fat pipe. You're asking a skinny pipe to fill up a fat pipe with energy, and there's no energy left. This was designed to tie on a fly, and you just added a big fat piece of 2X tippet on there. It's going to collapse on you because that 4X does not have the diameter and stiffness to turn over 2X, and especially, it couldn't turn over 2X tippet alone, but especially if you put a heavy fly on there. No, you must, I've said this before, I'll say it again, you must keep the taper of your leader intact. That taper must always be going from thick to thin. Very rare exceptions. In the case of a shock leader, like I'd fish in saltwater, it is a minor exception, but it's always at the very end, and it's always very stiff, thick. When you're talking about in the X's, 0X to 6X, you cannot attach fat to thin. You've always got to be attaching thin to fat, okay? So how would you do this? You're going to have to cut that leader back until it's approximately 2X, and now you can add some 2X tippet, okay? Your leader might wind up being a little bit shorter, but as long as it's approximately and you're still in the ballpark, you're fine, okay? Now, what if you were fishing that 4X leader and you wanted to tie on some 6X tippet. You wanted to go from a size 12 fly to a size 18 fly. Well, that you can do because you'll be going thick to thin. But you don't want to double tip it. Okay? Remember, that's bad and illegal, or should be illegal. So here's what you can do. You can cut that 4X tippet back to where it's about 6 inches long, and now what used to be tippet is now part of your taper, and now you can simply add your 6X tippet. Easy. That can be done. You can really alter almost any leader by making one snip and tying one simple knot. It's not that complicated, it's not that hard, but you cannot just attach whatever tippet onto the front of your leader. You've got to think about it, and you must keep the taper of your leader intact, okay? And then you must, of course, match your tippet to the approximate size, weight, and wind resistance of the fly. So, sorry to be so long-winded, but I'm going to be honest with you. We're going to keep it up. We're going to keep driving this home until it makes sense to 98% of the world. You know, friends, here at Matter River Outfitters, we are passionate about leaders. Every single person that works in the shop can talk as intelligently or more intelligently than I can about this. They all understand these concepts. They can teach you these concepts, you know, and they all understand that your leader, when it really comes down to it at the end of the day, your leader is your most important piece of gear. Don't believe what the fly fishing industry tells you. Don't believe, you know, I'm just telling you, they've got it all backwards, okay? And I think we all know why that is. So anyhow, I appreciate you listening. Again, sorry to be so long-winded, but we're going to keep it up. And as always, if you have any questions about this video or any of our videos, or most importantly about leaders and selecting or building the proper leader, please send us an email, or better yet, pick up the phone and give us a call here at the shop. Again, customer service is what we do for a living. Fly fishing is what we love and what we sell. So appreciate you being here. Stay tuned. We'll have a lot more coming at you. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss an episode. Hit that like button. That just makes us feel good. And when you get a chance, watch this video, watch this one, and then all those other ones that I gave you links to throughout this video. So appreciate you being here, and stay tuned. We've got a lot more coming at you.